Hello guys, how are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. In this tutorial we'll be learning how to cut and sew this beautiful baby girl gown. If this is what you like to learn, keep watching and let's get started.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I know.
So the first thing I'm going to do is to mark 1 inch from the side. This will serve as the zipper allowance. And I'm also going to mark 1 inch downward. This will serve as the shoulder line. After that, I'm going to mark 2 inches width for the neckline and 2.5 inches depth for the neck depth. Then I'm going to square it up. So for the back neck depth, I'm going to mark 1 inch downward. And I'm just marking 0.68 outward just to help me connect the neckline. So here we have the front and back neckline drafted together. So for the shoulder, we are using 8 inches divided by 2. We have 4 inches, but I reduced it to 7.5. So we are using 3.75 inches for the shoulder. So I'm marking ½ inch downward to connect the shoulder slant. And for the armhole depth, we are using 4.5 inches. So I'm going to mark it and connect it like so. I'm marking 7.5 inches for the half length. And I'm going to connect it. So for the bust circumference and the waist circumference, we are using 20 inches. Divided by 4, we have 5 inches. So I'm marking 5 inches on the bust circumference and waist circumference. And for the seam allowance, I added 1.25 for the seam allowance. I'm just going to mark the midpoint of the armhole depth. I came in by 0.375 and I connected it. So I'm connecting my armhole, and I'll also add the seam allowance at the armhole immediately. After that, I'm also going to add the joining allowance at the shoulder point. So it's just ½ inch seam allowance. I'm also going to add ½ inch seam allowance at the waistline. Then after that, I'm going to cut it out. I'm trimming out the back neckline first, so I can use the pattern to cut out the back bodice. So having done that, I'm going to trim out the back neckline so that we can have the front neckline. So I'm also adding 0.375 inches for the neckline. So I'm trimming out the back neckline. I'm also going to fold in the zipper allowance so that I can use this pattern to cut out the front bodice, okay? Now I want to calculate the down part, okay? We've successfully cut the upper part, okay? This is the front 2 piece for both the lining, and this is the back 4 piece for both the material and the lining. So let's calculate for the down part, okay? So the down part is going to consist of the 2 that will be gathered on a circle flay that will be under. Okay, so now let's calculate for this circle flay that will be under. The circumference of the waist will be 20 inches plus 1 inch zipper allowance. We have 21. So let's calculate the radius for the waist circumference. So radius equals to 21 divided by 6.28. So this 6.28 is a standard number. Okay, it's a standard number that we use to calculate the radius of a circumference, of any circumference, whether it's your arm circumference or your waist circumference or the circumference of where you want to join the flay. Okay, so 21 divided by 6.28, I have 3.3. So this is the radius that we are going to be working with. Now the length of this skirt part, okay, the length, in order to get the length, just you are going to do your full length minus half length. Okay, so the total length, the full length of this gown that you are working with minus the half length. Okay, this is what I mean by the half length. You already know. Okay, from here to here is the half length. You are going to minus it from the full length of the outfit that you are making. Okay, so the full length, I want this dress, the full length to be 18 inches. Okay, and we already have 7.5 as the half length. We are going to remove 7.5 from this 18 inches. We'll be left with 10.5. Okay, so now the length of the flare I want to cut is going to be 10.5. But because I'm going to gather a tulle on top of this flare, I won't make it exactly 10.5. This 10.5 will be the length of the tulle. Okay, then the length of the flare that will be under should be something like, I'm just going to remove 3 inches from this 10.5, so we'll be left with 7.5. okay, for the flare that will be under. Okay, yeah, so for us to cut this flare, I'm going to calculate the total material that we'll be using to cut this flare. Okay, that's how I normally do it. So the total material needed to cut out this flare is going to be the length you are working with plus the radius times 2. So the length of this flare is automatically 7.5 plus the radius we are working with 3.3, then times 2. So 7.5 plus 3.3, I'll be having 10.8 times 2. So I'm going to approximate this 10.8 into 11 inches. Okay, so it will be easier to calculate. So 11 times 2, I'll be left with 22 inches. So I'm going to get the material and cut 22 inches by 22 inches. So when I cut it, it's going to be in a square form like this. We have 22 inches width and 22 inches length. So when I cut it out like this, I'm going to fold it into 4. So I'm also going to use the net material to cut out a flare, but this flare is going to be the same length with the tulle that we are going to gather. Okay, I want, after gathering this tulle on this flare, I'm going to use the flare. I use the tulle to cut out, to cover up everything. I don't know if you understand. So I just want to calculate the material I will be needing. As simple as that. Just where you are calculating the total material you want to cut out, instead of putting this 7.5, just add 10.5, because that will be the length of the tulle. And when I put it, I'm going to have 10.5 plus 3.3. I will have what? 13.8, which I'm going to approximate to 14. So 14 times 2, I'll be left with 28 inches. So for the tulle, I'm going to cut out 28 inches by 28 inches. Then I'll fold it and cut out the flare. So let's do that now. So we calculated 22 inches width and 22 inches length for the material we are going to use to cut out the flare, and that is what I'm cutting out. So I'm going to cut out 2 pieces of this. So we are having 2 flares. One will serve as the one that we are going to pleat the flare on, while one will serve as the lining that we are going to use to turn everything. So I'm cutting out the second material that we're going to use for the flare. So after that, I'm going to fold it into 4 so that we can cut out the flare. So I'm just pinning it in place. So I'm going to mark the radius that we calculated, and after that I'm also going to mark the length of the flare from the radius point. Then I'm going to cut out the flare. I'll also do this on the other material we cut out for the flay. So after cutting this out, I'm also going to ensure that the width of what we have is also going to match up the width of the upper bodice. So I'm going to open it up on one side and we have our flay. I'm also going to do the same thing on the other flay that will serve as the lining. So I'm going to place this flay that we cut out on the tool, and I'll also cut out the tool. So this tool is just going to cover up the gathering. I want to add some lace applique on that tool. So this is the tool that we are going to gather on the flay. It's approximately 5 yards. So the length is also the same length of the flay for the tool. So now I'm gathering the tool. You are going to use a shift gathering method. You gather it with your hand and you sew. So this is how I'm going to gather the rest of the tool. I'm going to place on top of the flay. So I'm going to use the lining for the front bodice to turn it at the neckline and also at the armhole. I'll also do the same thing for the back bodice. You turn the neckline and also the armhole. So this is called hemming gum. I'm going to use hemming gum to attach these appliques on the tool flay that I cut out. Okay, just place the applique on the hemming gum and cut out the same shape, and you are going to use iron to attach it on the flay. Okay, so while attaching it, make sure you place a cotton fabric on top while ironing it on the tool so that it won't burn it up. So after doing that, this is the result. It is well attached now. So I've turned the front and back neckline. I've also joined it at the shoulder. I'm going to attach the belt and also join it by the side. So this is the flay that we are going to attach the tool on. So this is the first tool. This is the first level of the tool. This is the second level. Okay, so I want it to be quite full. So I don't want to pack it on the waistline so that it won't be bulky. So this is how I'm going to place it, the first one. So the first one, I'm going to place it after 1/2 inch that I marked downward. Can you see that? Then the second one, I'm going to place it exactly. Okay, the second one, I'm going to place it exactly at the tip. Can you see that? So this will make the waistline not to be too bulky while achieving the exact fullness. So after joining it like that, I'm going to attach the flay that I designed with the applique to cover it up. Can you see how beautiful it's looking after doing that? So after that, the next thing is to join the upper bodice to the lower bodice, joining the center points first. Okay, notch the center point of the upper bodice and the lower bodice and mash it up. So after joining it, this is how it looks. We are going to use the flay serving as the lining to cover it up. Can you see how I joined it? Right side of the flay mashing up the wrong side of the upper bodice. So after joining it, this is how it's going to cover it up. So the next thing is to add your zip and we are done. All right guys, we have come to the end of this tutorial. Thank you guys for watching. I see you in the next one. Bye.
Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I